And now our next laureate is David Julius. He's professor and chair of the Department of Physiology and the Morris Herzlein Chair in Molecular Biology and Medicine at UCSF in San Francisco in California. And he's been awarded for determining the molecular basis of somatosensation, how we sense heat, cold, and pain. I would like to invite David Julius to the stage, and his music is Almost Like Being in Love by Frank Sinatra.
What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the moment.
Well, what a day it's been, indeed. In fact, what a week it's been as I traveled across Canada, meeting with students, and it's really been a pleasure to be here. I want to, of course, thank all of you and the Gairdner Foundation for honoring me with this award, but it's really not an honor for me as much as it is for all the people I've worked with. That includes, of course, all the graduate students and postdoctoral fellows who have trained in my lab over the last 25 years or so, who are really the people who've done the work that's being celebrated here tonight, and whom it's been my privilege to be a part of their scientific lives. As in Huda's case, they now occupy positions of their own in, successful in science, and I'd say almost 100% of the people who've been from my lab remain as active scientists, which to me is one of the greatest honors of being a scientist. I'd also like to recognize the Gairdner Foundation for recognizing the field of pain research. There are many of my colleagues here in the audience who work in this area, and it's really a thrill for us to know that the Gairdner Foundation has singled out pain research as an important and an exciting problem. We know, as you've seen in the video, that people suffer from, many of us in this room and throughout the world, about a third of Americans and probably likely the same number of Canadians will suffer from some form of chronic or debilitating pain in their lifetime, which can really turn your life upside down. And there really are insufficient strategies to deal with this with a variety of syndromes. Pain is not just one disease, but it's really a spectrum of disorders, and we need to understand the molecular basis and the cellular basis for these different disorders if we're really ever going to find a way to treat them specifically and appropriately. And as in the case of Huda, I'd like to thank my mentors. The late Al Gilman, a great scientist, once said that who you are as a scientist is a reflection of the people with whom you've trained. And I need to thank all manner of people in that regard, including Alex Rich, with whom I trained as an undergraduate student at MIT, Jeremy Thorner and Randy Sheckman, who were my mentors as a graduate student at Berkeley, and Richard Axel, who taught me as a postdoctoral fellow at Columbia. And what these people taught me was the beauty of doing science, the fact that one must bring rigor and honesty and reproducibility to everything we do. And they also taught me the importance of doing and supporting basic curiosity-driven research, because one never knows where the greatest discoveries will come from that lead to the greatest therapeutic advances. And so I think we have to support science at all levels, and I thank the Gairdner Foundation for doing that. The other thing that I want to say is that it's really impressive to me that the Gairdner Foundation supports science at an international level. One of the privileges of being a scientist is to be a member of a vast international community that works together to better humankind. And to me, this is a very important thing. I think it's a privilege to be a scientist in this regard. And in these days, at least in some cases of increasing sense of nationalism and closing borders, I think it's incredibly important for us as scientists and people who support science to make sure that these borders remain open, that we can exchange trainees across borders, communicate with our friends and colleagues, because this is really essential for what we do as both scientists and human beings. Thank you. And as I went across Canada speaking to students today, I recall some of the things that my parents taught me. Of course, the ultimate mentors And I remember my father, as I told him, saying once when I came home from graduate school, all excited about what I was doing, he said, you know, you should always remember that you're a very fortunate person if you go to work because you want to and you have the passion to do that, as opposed to going to work because you have to, because too many people in this world go to work and don't enjoy it. And I think that was really something fantastic that he told me. And my mother also, who's here today. Mom, thank you for joining us. I love you. My mother, Selma. I came home from undergraduate school once for vacation, and I thought I was going to go to medical school. And I came home and I said, you know, I wasn't sure how she was going to react to this. And I said, you know, I'm not so sure about being a doctor. I thought maybe I'd like to try research. And she looked at me and she said, yes, I think that would be much more interesting. So, so I had sort of the flip story of that. But anyway, Mom, thank you for letting me follow my passion and do what I wanted to do. I'm sorry that I can't write prescriptions for you and those kind of things, but you can't have everything. And I also want to thank my cousin who's here. My cousin's sort of been like a sister to me. We grew up together, and she's also always supported me and been very encouraging. She said to me a little while ago, you know, David, you were so cute as a little boy. What happened? But Ray, thanks for being here anyway. And then, of course, there's my son, Philip, who's here tonight. Philip's more interested in the arts and music, but I think he'll be the really creative one in the family. But he really, I think, respects and enjoys what I do and what my wife, Holly, does. She's also a scientist. And living with another scientist, as many of you know, you know, sometimes we talk shop a little bit too much, but on the other hand, it's a wonderfully supportive interaction. And Holly is a great scientist in her own right, but she's also supported me and helped me to push me really sometimes to take risks that otherwise I might have avoided doing. So thank you, my beautiful wife, for doing that. And then the last shout out is, you know, I think I've been a mentor to many people at this point, but you're never too old yourself to be a mentor. And one of my great friends and colleagues is here, Roger Nichol, a world-famous neurophysiologist of his own. And Roger, thank you for, I waste a lot of Roger's time coming into his office and talking about all manner of things. I don't think he's ever thrown me out, and I've learned from him, again, the beauty of doing science and the beauty of doing science in a way that's so creative, precise, and beautiful. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Dr. Rossant, Summer Wedlock, and Paige Johnson, who's put all this together. And I think they're sort of like, especially Summer and Paige, are like air traffic controllers. As we're all zipping across the country, they're on their phones making sure we don't get lost and end up in the wrong place. So thank you so much for being wonderful hosts. And thank you all for coming tonight and supporting scientific research.